that JB was going to have a great game.
Brown for three. Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness. Just a clinic right now for Jaylen Brown.
This is contested three. Oh, of course he did.
He is cooking right now. Brown, three-pointer. And he is on fire.
Have a night, number 7.
Fresh off his 30-point performance, we now welcome in Jaylen Brown. Jaylen, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you. And on the show, we were talking about how hard it is for us from the outside to get a feel for the series because there was just such a seismic shift, right, between Game 1 and Game 2. And I certainly want to get to your performance, but can you just tell us what went through your mind when you crossed up Grayson Allen like that?
Just trying to be aggressive. I mean, it's the playoffs, so you got to come with the energy. You got to come and be aggressive, and that was it. Just made a play, and it's only 2 points, so got to look forward to making more plays down the line of the series.
Humble, diplomatic. I like that. It can't get too big when the series is tied at 1-1. I want to shift gears a little bit. And speaking of shifts, if we could go back in time a little bit, because on January 31st, you tweeted, quote, "The energy is about to shift." Where were you when you sent that? What made you say that?
Just, you ever been in a time where things don't seem to be going right, during life, everything just seems to be going wrong. And, I just felt like just for everybody, things was just about to shift. Certain times of the year, it actually was a retrograde, which means like planets were spinning in the opposite direction for people who believe in that type of stuff. And I know at that moment, the energy was about to change. So I tweeted it out and we went on a win streak.
Well, it's one thing to just tweet something out. It's another thing for it to come to fruition. And that was up against the backdrop. You mentioned it. There was a lot that was going on for you guys, including having issues staying healthy and then fit questions about you and Jason Tatum. Specifically there, was it a conversation, a meeting, an outing to shift the energy and yield the partnership that we're seeing on the court now?
Not really. I don't think we did anything different than we have normally done. I think that we got healthy. I think that was a key thing. I think we had some injuries. I missed about 15 games early in the year.
Yeah.
And that affected us. But new organization, not new organization, but new teammates, new front office, new coaching staff. So we just had to get our feet set. And once we did, we see the results. So I credit it to that.
With you and Jason specifically, was it just about getting on the court more to have that energy that you were alluding to in your tweet?
Not necessarily. I think we play well in a lot of stretches in our whole career. People right now, I just had a lot of, criticism and critiques. That was fair because things weren't going right, but it wasn't necessarily because me and Jason didn't get along or didn't play well together. It was just because we were trying to fit all the parts together and trying to figure out how we can both be ourselves and at the same time, complement each other. And that takes growth, that takes experience. And that's what we were trying to figure out in the middle of everybody, watching it and seeing the growing mistakes and stuff like that.
And having their opinions about everything that was going on. I've got to say, I wish that I could tweet something out sometimes, manifest it, and then have it come to fruition as well as you did. Do you go back and look at that? And did you know how right you were going to be, how well things were going to course correct for the Celtics team?
Well, I never lost faith. I'll say that. They're in the middle of everybody, all the turmoil, all the critiques. You can go back and pull the receipts that I always said that things were going to change, things were going to pick up. The energy, how we kind of felt about each other and about the group was always high. It was always consistent. It was always positive. So I knew it was only a matter of time. We weren't getting blown out. We were losing games by close margins. So we just had to figure out how to win games and how to be healthy and stuff like that. And once we did, we knew we were going on a little bit of a run. And Ime was good about staying persistent in that manner, too. So it was just a matter of time.
Ime has been really impressive to watch this season. When you shared that with the world, was that a sentiment that you'd already shared with your teammates privately?
Absolutely. Like I said, the group has been positive the entire year about how we were going to continue to pursue this year. Like, we were right there. So once we got healthy, once we figured things out, things just sort of clicked. I've been on great teams and I've been on teams that, underperformed. So I could sense that the energy was there and it was about to shift, and it did.
Well, speaking of shifts, I want to go back to the series. How can you keep that shift, that momentum that you found in Game 2 as the series shifts, for lack of a better term, back to Milwaukee?
Just take it one game at a time. We got to come out and bring the energy. Milwaukee's the defending champs. They have a lot of great players and great talent, and they're very well coached. So we're going to have to be the disciplined and smarter team and also come out and just execute and play basketball. That's what it's going to come down to, is just who's going to outplay who. And last night we won, but each game is its own story, so we got to be ready for each game.
Jaylen Brown, I appreciate you stopping by NBA Today. Are we going to see that shirt come out again? The energy's shifting?
Yeah, it's online. You can find it online on the juiceshop.com. You can find it. It's already being sold. So appreciate you, Malika. Thank you for everything.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. The Celtics evened the series last night, and the lobster rolls are delicious. There is Jaylen Brown. He was there, Jeff, did you hear this? 3 hours before tip-off, and then it yielded this. I'm sorry, Grayson, we're showing it again. We really are.
Sometimes you got to get your mind right. Sometimes you got to get mind right. A lot of times, playoffs, you might have family in town. You might have this. You might have that. I'm going to get there, get to work, and these are the results of that work.
He dropped him like that potato was so hot, and then he did this over Giannis.
Yo, he was balling.
Yeah. He was in his bag. He was in a grip. What scares me about how great he was playing, you kept seeing him grab his hamstring, and I hope that's not going to come up to bite him, so to speak, at some point in this series.
It didn't look like it bit him on that play. The Celtics roll 109-86. And get this, the Celtics, they've taken more threes than twos in each of the first 2 games of this series after having never done that in a playoff game in franchise history. So they lived by the 3 in game 2. They made 20 of them while shooting better than 46% from distance, but died by the 3. Game 1, they hit just 36% of them. So game 2, that was their savior. Game 1, not so much. But it was an incredible bounce-back performance from the Celtics, and a reminder that their star Jaylen Brown will join us in just about 15 minutes. But gentlemen, we have to start with the graphic that we just showed on Boston's threes, because Matt, I want to start with you here. We were talking about this in the break. Is that style a sustainable plan for the Celtics if they want to win this series?
Well, the sweet spot last round for them was about 35 threes to get a game per Brooklyn, and that's, they swept through them. I think what the thing was in the first game is the Bucks were the more physical team, and that had the Celtics on their heels and no rhythm, and they were forcing up a bunch of threes. Game 2, Boston came and met that physicality and were getting downhill, getting to the mid-range, so then they were more in rhythm with their three-point shots. So I still think that sweet spot's probably around 40, 35, 40. 50 might be a lot, but again, I think if they meet their physicality, they're going to get in more rhythm so that when they're shooting these three-point shots, they may not have another hot shooting night like they did, but they'll be more consistent with their three-point shots.
Well, and let's take a second here. Let's not, go crazy. 36% is really good if you're shooting that percentage of threes. That is really good for that amount. That's, again, I don't know what the equivalent it is, but let's put it in perspective. The Golden State Warriors lost by 5, and they shot 18% from 3, 7 for 39. So, for me, I look at this team. Is that the formula? Yes. But I also want to credit their defense, their adjustments that they made on Giannis, making it so much more difficult. And Giannis, as series progress, with no Chris Middleton, you limit your options for Giannis. Chris Middleton is one of the best pick and roll guys that they have. So what they did more in the second half is they more put him as a screener and allow him to roll, then toss him the ball. Drew Holiday is a very good pick and roll player. But after that, you start to get very average with how they play their game because they just have floor spacers. So for me, that's where it struggles without Chris Middleton. You are limited the options. But I think to see Giannis more as a screener and as a roller, because you got to pull in when Giannis is rolling, or if he gets that ball, that will open up more threes for the Milwaukee Bucks. But ultimately, the Boston Celtics are the better team without Chris Middleton.
Okay, Perk.
You know what? Everything that Matt and RJ was saying is the gospel, and I have no argument. I actually agree with them on everything that they said. You know what? I want to credit Ime Udoka, right? Because he's the guy that gets this team prepared every time they have to face adversity. Like we talk about in the regular season at one point when they was 23 and 25. Ime Udoka called out Jason Tatum, called out Jaylen Brown, had to come into Jesus meeting. All of a sudden, their season turned around. They got punched in the mouth game 1. All of a sudden, you see that type of physicality they came with on the defensive end. You saw that dog mentality. That's a reflection of your coach. That's a reflection of your coach going into the film room after game 1 and not being friendly with you. And so when I see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum come out with that tenacity. You see Jaylen Brown arriving at the game 3 hours before time because he has it on his mind. That's all Ime Udoka. And I just want to give him a lot of credit because I think of all the coaches that's around the league, he flies under the radar because so many coaches are doing a great job, but he is doing an outstanding job how he's getting those guys to respond.
Well, then on the flip side of that, now it goes on the team that just got blown out to make adjustments. We saw Ime Udoka do that from game 1 to game 2. Matt, we were just talking about it. When Bud was on the hot seat, Mike Budenholzer, what was the knock on him?
In-game adjustments.
So let's see how he now responds, because now the ball's in his court of what he is